This presentation is going to be focused on how the WMS is able to work with bill of materials. This is quite a large topic, so I'll mainly be concentrating on demonstrating how to create an item from a bill of material using a production order, reversing this process and picking a sales bill of material. There are other functions such as being able to create a production order from within the WMS and many different ways to configure the system, but I won't touch on these in any great length due to the length of time these topics take, and instead concentrate on the most commonly used processes and demonstrate how they work. The presentation is split into two sections. In the first section I will explain what a bill of material is and the different ways the WMS works with these types of item structures. I will talk about some of the benefits and the processes involved from both an ERP and WMS perspective. In the second section I will demonstrate 3 different functions showing how to create a production order in SAP and from this create a new stock item in the WMS. I will show how the process can be reversed and finally how to create a sales order which contains a sales bomb and pick this in the WMS. So before I dive into how the WMS can handle a bill of material, it is worth explaining what a bill of material is. A bill of material, or BOM for short, is used to describe the list of components or children needed to complete or form a finished or saleable product or parent item. Different ERP systems handle these types of items differently, and the WMS is able to work with many different configurations and processes. I will be covering a few of the most common setups. It is also useful to know that there are many different ways of describing the processes, and this can often be confusing with many different naming conventions, but I will try to stick to the most commonly used terms. For the rest of the presentation, I will talk about 3 different functions. The first is how to process a production order, or sometimes this is referred to as a works order. The second is how to reverse this process, and the third is how to pick a sales bomb. Working with bill of materials is not usually the most undertaken activity in a warehouse, but can be a key component to the efficiency of the warehouse. The main benefit is usually to standardise a process that is often being undertaken by some sort of manual process. It could be, for example, that parent items and component items are created and removed from the systems using adjustments. By introducing these advanced modules, this process can be made to work more quickly, and from an ERP and WMS perspective, the transaction is recorded in the correct way. If things are completed in the correct order, which is easier done with a formalised process, then other areas of the operation, such as picking, will work much more efficiently. There are a number of ways the WMS can work with BOMs, as described earlier. Where components within a bill of material are used up or absorbed as part of a process, then this is usually referred to as production, manufacturing or assembly. An example could be where the finished item, a bicycle for example, and the components are parts such as wheels, brakes, chain, handlebars and a frame, for example, are assembled to form the finished item, in this case the bicycle. In this example, the bicycle will be sold, not the individual parts, and the individual components are still definable here. But in other cases this may not be so, and the components are absorbed, mixed and ultimately lost. This would happen, for example, in the manufacturing of liquid soap. In these types of examples, reverse production is much harder. There are other examples where the components are not used up, but the parent item is not a stock item. The components are usually brought together to form what is referred to as a sales bomb or kit. The sales bomb represents the finished product descriptively, but is never held in stock. Sales bombs are assembled at the picking stage. Usually production orders are used for more complex manufacturing or assembly, where it takes a period of time to produce the item, or where the item needs to be prepared in large quantities and available before a sales order is produced. The 2 processes are usually referred to as build to stock or build to order. A production or works order, where an item is built to stock, specifies which material is to be produced, where it is to be produced, which operations are required to do this, and on which date production is to take place. It also defines how the order costs are to be settled. The different terminologies used are usually determined by what the transaction is called in the ERP system. For the ERP system SAP, for example, the transaction is a production order. In the ERP system, NetSuite, they are referred to as works orders. There is an advanced license module that is standard in Accellos that can download these types of orders and process them using functions within Web Dispatch and guide a user on a handheld to complete the process. It is possible also to create ad hoc production orders from within the WMS and upload them back to the ERP system. I will leave out for now how to create a production order in the WMS and concentrate on how to create them in the ERP, as this is the most commonly used process. Components for these types of orders are allocated just like sales orders, but instead of being allocated for picking, replenishment requests are generated to take components from stock and transfer them to a works area. When finished goods are pulled from the works area, Accellos depletes the component and inventory based on the BOM structure. The WMS requires that these types of orders are downloaded in a particular format. For many ERP systems, the interface can process these as standard. A document called the host interchange provides details of the structure of the downloaded records. The next two slides represented by a Visio diagram, show the process flow between the ERP and the WMS. The start of the process is to create the production order in the ERP system and release it to the WMS. Production orders are usually generated off the back of a sales order or as a result of some type of forecast. Once added and released, the order is downloaded and added to the WMS. There are now a number of steps that must be followed to complete the process in the WMS. Each step is represented by different statuses in the WMS. Following download, the order will go into status assembly unallocated. This means no stock has been yet allocated. Now follows the process of allocating stock and moving stock to the workplace bin using the letdown function on the handheld. The allocation of stock can also be carried out automatically if required. The replenishment is a physical process of moving the stock. Once all the components have been moved to the workplace bin, the stock can be fully allocated. The status at this point is called assembly being built. The next part of the process is the physical manufacturing or assembly of the components into the finished item. This is represented on the handhelds by the function pull kit. Components are scanned and quantities are entered to confirm the item has been used. Once the final product is ready, a label can be printed and the stock is added to a bin. The user will decide which bin, but there is usually a default. The order is then complete if all the items have been produced from the order or if the user has decided so. The kit complete function on the handheld is used to tell the WMS to upload the details back to the ERP system. Stock will then be issued for the components and receipted for the parent item, and the process is complete. In some instances, taking a finished item and putting back to stock the components is required. It is a process not commonly used and usually done by adjustments. It is often required following an item being returned or where the components themselves are sellable and are required to fulfill an order. It is to be noted that changes are required to the standard interface to handle this process. The transaction involved here is usually referred to as a disassembly order or reverse production. When a disassembly order is added, the stock is automatically removed and added to the WMS. All the user has to do is move the item to a predefined bin. Accellos also provides a formal warehouse process for picking sales bombs or kits, which they are sometimes referred to. This type of process is known as build to order. A kit or sales bomb are downloaded as part of a sales order and the component items are picked using a standard handheld picking process. The component items are allocated and picked and removed from stock. The finished item does not appear as a stock item when the process has been completed. It is usually the sales bomb that is shown on the delivery note, and this is the item that the customer will buy, and they will not pay for each individual component. If all of the items are not in stock, then the parent item cannot be allocated and none of the items picked. I will now discuss how the process works using a production order in SAP and completing it in Accellos with the aid of some screenshots. Following this, I will demonstrate the process. The first step is to create a production order in SAP and select the items that are required to be made. The download to WMS field needs to be set to yes and the status of the order set to as released. The order will automatically download, and once it has, we'll set the download to WMS field in SAP to download it. The order will not have allocated stock at this point. There are a number of different statuses in the WMS as the order is moved through different steps, and this slide references all of the different ones. I will not go into each one here, but this slide can be used as a reference. Once downloaded, the order needs to be allocated. This can be done automatically, or in this case, as I'm showing on this slide, the manual allocation. The include zone for kitting needs to be filled out with the zone that the components should be pulled from. In this case, it is zone B. Once allocated, the order will be in the status assembly waiting replenishment. A label can be printed so the user is aware that an activity should take place. The next step is the physical process of moving the stock to a workplace bin. The handheld, using a number of different steps within the letdown by kit function, will direct the user to the storage bin and instruct the quantity to move. I've listed on the slide all of these different steps. This process will continue until all the component products have been moved and the user will be notified of this, as shown on the slide. Once complete, the stock will be available in the workplace bin as shown. Once all components have been moved, the user will use the function pull kit to complete the finished item. The user will follow a number of different steps on the handheld and at the end print a label if required. I've listed these different steps here. Once complete, the components will be removed from stock and the finished item added. The status will be in assembly complete. The final step is to finish the order. The handheld function finish kitting is used for this. Once finished, the order will be shown as shipped and uploaded. I've listed here the steps for the finish kit function. Once uploaded to SAP, the order will show as closed if the order is fully completed. The stock is added following the posting of the receipt from production transaction, and the components removed following the posting of the issue for production transaction. I've shown here on the slide these different transactions. I will now demonstrate this process in SAP and Accellos. Okay, so the first thing to do is log into SAP. I've got mine open here ready. Look for production in the menu and then open up a production order. So we'll begin with a blank transaction. Okay, and I will type in my product code in the top left corner. This tab, and now you see they will list the component items that go with that. So if you click on the product number here on the arrow, you can see the bill of material structure. So for every quantity of one, you require one of each of these two items. Okay. So I want to build 5 of these. So in the planned quantity, I'll type in 5. Press tab, warehouse 300 to keep that as it is. You now see the planned quantity for each item has gone up to 5, so that's automatic. So we need to pick 5 of each of them. We need to add a due date here, put in today's date. Download to WMS, we set to yes. And then we can add the order. Okay, I need to go back to my order because I need to set the status as being released, else it won't download. So go in here, the top status, it is released, update it. The order will now download to the WMS, so we can take a copy of the number 2557, remember that, and we'll then log into the WMS. Hopefully it's downloaded. So go to your WMS system, you can log in, open your username and password. Go over to the left hand side, the reports menu, under picking, pack slip report, you have to type in WO to start with, and then type in the works order number, click go, and now we'll see that the order is downloaded. So it was set to automatically allocate, so we can see that our component items here, 5 have allocated from this bin and 5 for the second product have allocated from this bin. You can also see the parent item here. It's a comment at the moment because it's the 2 items, that the components that we're interested in moving. So the next step, as you can see, it's gone into assembly weight replenishment, which means we need to now move the stock from the bulk bins into the workplace bin. So to do this, we go to the handheld. So we can open up the telnet session here, log in. And what we need to do is go to the replenishment. So in stock locator number 3, we go to number 2, let down stock. And we're interested in production replenishment, so we need to go into number 5 by kit. It will prompt you for the works order number, so we type in WO2557, press enter. Okay, and it tells you here works orders 1, and then we can start it, so press F2. Yeah, and then it's going to take us to the first product. So in our case it's 420885. We would usually scan this with a barcode, reader. In this case we're doing a test, so we just type in the product code 420885, press enter. It will then tell us how many packs we need. So remember we needed 5, so we're going to move all 5. It then gives us some information around what it's doing. So it's telling us it's going to put it into the workplace bin, which is by default WC WRK 300, so we just need to press enter. That's moved. It then takes us to the second product. So again, type in the product code 301630, press enter, telling us that we need packs of 5. So we're going to move all 5, press enter, telling us which workplace bin it's going to put into it, same one again, and press enter. And now it's going to inform us that there's no more stock to move. So that is complete. We just need to press enter one more time. Yep, it takes us back to the workplace, to the works order number entering stage, but we can come out of this now. We can go back to our order. We can refresh it. Okay, so now it's gone into the assembly being built status, and we can look at the individual items, the component items, and we can see that the stock has been moved to the workplace bin in zone P, which is nice. So then now the next stage is to build the item and create the parent item. So we do this using the pull kit function. So we go back to our handheld screen. Okay, come out of this menu, go back to the main menu, all the way back here. And now we need to go to works orders, which is menu number 7. Okay, and in here we go to pull kitting number 2. And we type in our works order number again. So works order 2557, press enter. And now it's saying we've built 0 out of 5 because we've not built anything yet. So we would like to build all 5. So we type in the quantity of 5, press enter. And it's going to ask us which workplace bin. We've got a default, so we're going to put it into the same bin. So MC work 300. There we go. We need an expiry date because this is an expiry managed product. So I'll just type in 2017-0101. Okay, and this gives us some information then about what's just happened. So it's telling us the workplace bin, the product code and the expiry. So we just press enter here, press enter again, and now it asks us if we need some labels. So we can say, yep, we want to print a label, and that will give us a new product label for the product 414896. And now we can come back to web dispatch, press refresh, and assembly is complete. So the stock will be added. So if we look at this item here, we can now see that we've got 5 in the workplace bin. The component parts will have been reduced. So if we go into the components, there is now nothing in the workplace bin. So the parent item has been increased and the 2 components reduced. All we need to do now is finish off to say it's complete. So we go back to our menu again, and we go into finish kit number 3. Type in the works order number again. There we go. We just have to press enter here. It's giving us just the information about the workplace bin and how many's in there. Press enter. Go back to web dispatch. Refresh it. Now it's shipped and uploaded. So that means it's being processed into the WMS. So we now need to go back to the WMS and check what's happened there. So we can log back into SAP. This usually takes a couple of minutes to upload. So we'll do that now. Go back to SAP. Here. So we'll just refresh this. Yep, and we can see what's happened. So straight away we can see that the 2 items have been closed off. So that's good. And now if we look at the relationship map, so we go to, look at the relationship map, you can see what's happened. So we can see in here that the production has been closed, the receipt from production has been created, and an issue for production. So if we look at the receipt from production, by double clicking it here, we can see that the parent item has been added, quantity of 5. That's good. And then if we look at the issue, we can see that the 2 component items have been removed from stock, and that's the end of the process. That production order is now closed, and you can create a new one and start the process all over again. I will now discuss how the reverse production process works using a disassembly production order in SAP and showing how it is downloaded and how stock is removed and added in Accellos. Following this, I will demonstrate the process. The first task is to move the stock to the assembly out bin, which is predefined. In this case, it is DI out 300 bin, and I have moved a quantity of 5. The child item has 0 stock at this point. The next stage is to add the disassembly order in SAP. The transaction is a production order but is of type disassembly. The download to WMS field needs to be selected as yes and the status as released. The order can then be added. The order will then download and add and remove the stock. In the example I put on 2, so there is now 3 remaining for the parent item. The child item is made up of 5 for every 1 of the parent item. So there is now 10 in stock in the assembly in bin, which is DI in 300 in this example. I will now demonstrate this process in SAP and Accellos. So I'm now going to take the order here and actually reverse the transaction. So I'm going to create the assembly order. So going back into the WMS, if we look at our parent item, so the first stage here would be to move the parent item into the bin, into the out bin. So we need to do that first. So at the moment it's in the work bin, so we're going to move this into the out bin. So we'll do this by doing a direct move. So go back to the main menu, we go to free stock locator, and then we type in the product code 414896. The expiry date of the item, 2017-0101. We then need to move this from the works bin, MC WRK 300, and we need to remove all 5, and we're going to put it into the bin DI out 300. So this is the bin that the disassembly will take the stock from. That's okay. We're going to put them into units. Okay, move, that's good. Refresh the item here. So now that stock's been moved into the DI out 300 bin, and then we go back to SAP and put on our disassembly order. So close the old one down. It's the same menu again. You go into production orders here. This time, instead of a standard, we will pick a disassembly order. Select it from the list. Type in the product number, which is 414896. 896. Okay, we're going to remove 5, so put 5 in the planned quantity field. Warehouse 300 is correct. Stick the download to WMS as yes. Due date is today. And then we add it. Go back to it. And then make sure it's released. Click update. And now the order would automatically download to WMS and it should add the stock for the components and remove the stock for the parent item. So let's now go to WMS and check, see what's happened. Okay, so now let's look back at our product and refresh it. And there you can see the item has gone. So the parent item has been fully removed. If we now check the component items, we can go to the DI in bin using the bin detail report. DI in 300. And there you can see our 2 items, 5 of each, have been moved into the DI in 300 bin. And now these can be put away to stock. And that is the end of the process. I will now discuss how the process works with picking a sales bomb in Accellos. A sales bomb is added as an item to a sales order like any regular item. Once added, the components will then display underneath. The parent item will show as a non-stock item. The rest of the sales order is filled out as normal and added when complete. Once downloaded, the order will show the parent and component items. The parent item is shown as a comment line because it will not be allocated or picked, and is there merely for reference. The order is allocated either automatically or manually, as like any other sales order. All the components must be in stock for a single bomb to allocate. It is possible to partially allocate sales bombs, but at an individual bomb must have all the components available. The order is then waived and picked. I will now demonstrate this process in SAP and Accellos. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is open up the sales menu. I'm going to add a new order. So click on the sales order. Okay, just a standard sales order. We add a customer. Let's pick one, random. Okay, and then we need to enter our item. So we're going to pick a sales bomb. So I'm going to type in my test sales bomb item as tab. And you see what will happen here is it will drop in the component items underneath. So our sales bomb is the header item here. It's a non-stock item. If you click on it, it will show it's a bin of materials, product description sales bomb, and the BOM type is sales. So yeah, and underneath it's listing the component part. So for the first item, for every one of the parent needs one of these, 2 of these, and 1 of these. And that should be mirrored on the sales order here. So we just need to add a delivery date. So add today's date. Okay. And then we can add this order. It's pretty simple. And this. So the sales bomb is a non-stock item. We won't be picking that, we'll just be picking the component items. So we can now go to WMS and look for this order. 3793. Okay, so we now go to the reports menu. We can search for our order, which is 3793. Press enter. There it is. It's downloaded and it's automatically been allocated, which is good. We've got some information on the screen we can look at. So we can see this is a sales bomb because the first line, which is our sales bomb, is a comment. That's because we're not picking that one and it's already been automatically picked. The next three items down, you can see it tells you here that they're the component items, and we're looking to build 1. It tells us at the top here, and we can see here that these items are fully allocated, which is good. So now all we need to do is pick this. So we just wave out the order. Yeah. Submit. We're now going to wave status. So now we can pick the items, and The system should tell us to pick the components and not the header order, not the parent item. So go into our menu, back to the main menu. So we now want to go into picking, number 4. We'll go into regular picking, so just like picking at any other order. And we're picking all zones and all bins. And the first thing we just type in our carton number listed on the screen, which is 130162003. Okay, start the order, F2. And then we can see that it's taken us to our first item, which is one of the components, which is correct. So we type in our number, 0356. Okay, the carton number it's going into. Yeah, quantity of 2. Next product. Again, a component item. Select the expiry date. Again, put in the carton number it's going into. Quantity of 1. And then the final product. Okay, into the carton again. Quantity of 1. Okay, order is complete. Refresh in here. And what's happened? It's going to rating, that's great. So it's been fully picked. We didn't do anything with the header item, we just picked the components. And now if we ship it, submit. Okay. So our delivery note is now printed and it's gone into ready to upload status. We can refresh that. And it'll go now into shipped and uploaded, which is good. If we check the product, the header item, we can see that there is no stock on here. No stock's added or taken away, it's a non-stock item. And we can see the components that are linked to it for this sales bomb. So let's now go and check SAP and see what's happened for our order 3793. Let's refresh it. And there we go. So the order's fully closed. And if we look at the delivery note, yep, we can see that the components have been added and the description for the sales bomb, and the components have been depleted from stock, and that's the order complete. Okay, so that's the end of the demonstration. I hope the presentation has been useful. Okay, thanks for listening. Goodbye.